there we are. And we are here at the driverless event. What we can open this event, what do we know?
Well, very simple commentators that we are. So the layout of the stick pattern is very similar to the driver's stick pattern. 2 laps to the left at first, then 2 laps to the right. At the end of the event, the only change is it's not the person waving the flag, but the car should stop within the required distance at the end of the furthest direction. And just for the audience wondering why there's a driver in a driverless car, now it is actually a driverless car, so that means that the car will have to do the 2 laps on the right hand side and 2 laps on the left hand side all by itself. It has been programmed, obviously. It's a piece of software, we always call it. But it will have to do it all autonomously, and will have to stop within the designated area, doesn't it? Yes, that's correct. You notice a few more lights on these cars than you'll see on a standard combustion or electric Formula Student car. For the electric driverless cars, you've got the tractor system active light, as with normal electric cars. You've also got the remote emergency switch and autonomous mode lights. When the car is ready to drive in autonomous mode, you'll see a solid yellow light. Once the driving has begun, you'll see a flashing yellow light. And at the end of the run, you'll either see a flashing blue light, which means the run is terminated by a remote emergency switch, or a solid blue light, which means that the run has been completed successfully. It looks like the car is just about ready to take off. You can see the flashing yellow light. Yeah, and rightly so, everybody is taking a little bit of a distance to the car because you never know, these cars can easily go backwards as well. So everybody's just hanging back next to the guy with the emergency stop, and that's the guy with the little box in front of it can actually stop the car whenever it is. And there we are.
First run of
the car, driverless. So just to remind everybody, the second lap
counts.
The right hand side and the left hand side as well. So far, I don't want to jinx it.
One go, what does one go do?
Yeah, so we actually don't know because the car is up, so
just exiting the skip pad.
So I'm not sure whether that will be counted as official time or not. We did see the car tripping at least one code, so that time will be added to the overall time. But I'm not sure whether this will be a DNF or not. We'll check the guys here and then we'll find out. The average run, the average time for the right and left run is 6.69 seconds. So it's slightly faster going on the left-hand loop than the right-hand loop. Yeah, which is not too bad actually, because I think the fastest time for this driver is around 4 seconds. No, sorry, it's around 5 seconds. So that's pretty good actually for having a piece of software doing the whole driving in the car. Which is not bad. I think one of the officials is looking at the car at the moment and they're contemplating whether the drive was actually valid or not. We'll find out soon.
Estão daqui a pouco de Valentina, pode ver
Yeah, Austin, we just had confirmation that it in fact is a DNF. The rules are quite strict. That means that the car overshot the line of the exit area, and that means that this run will have a DNF, so it will not be counted as an official time for this car. Well, the good news for them is they successfully completed the difficult bit of the track, and they've still got 3 more attempts to resolve the issue they had.
Yeah, sure, what kind of modifications they can make. Obviously they can change some parameters. I'm pretty sure they practiced this back at home a lot. So, because it did work quite smooth, didn't it? I mean, it was almost natural.
Yeah, the only little wobble they had was when they switched from the right hand to the left hand loose and flipped to one tone, but other than that, it was very consistent and smooth.
Yeah, we've seen drivers make a mistake, right? Counting 2 times left and 2 times right. I've seen drivers going very high. I've seen drivers do 3 laps on the right hand side, 1 on the left hand side. This car will be a little bit better than some of the drivers we've seen in the past. Yeah, we've also seen drivers take out the
Screws up their system, and all the guys here were instructed very strictly not to cross the lightning.
Looks like KIT is wheeling the car back to the pit so they can do the necessary adjustments before one of the next runs. We'll probably go quiet again until one of the next cars comes back out. Hopefully that's not too much time. It's currently 4:39 and this event is open until 6:30 p.m. Well, there's a lack of action on track. I'll give you a quick reminder. You can fill out the survey for us commentators that advertise on all social media avenues from Formula Student Germany. You can do that. It's great. We'll have a lot of stuff to talk about your team and your car when you're tracked in the next few days.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, it's not a really official form. You can fill in everything you want, as you tell the audience. It can be a funny nickname for a driver, or a big shout out to a sponsor, or someone that had a rough time or whatever. So please do make sure that you fill out the form, so we have some more information and maybe some funny stuff we can talk about during the dynamics.
Looking at the driverless scrutineering process, we can see there are 4 cars in total so far which have passed all of the scrutineering events, I guess we call them. Nathan, can you tell us who they are?
Yeah, we have 4 cars, 3 electric and 1 combustion actually. So we have EQS Stewart passing scrutineering, actually quite easy. Also the kit car that we just saw, obviously. We have Colin, our Estonian friends from Black East. And also the Roma Sapienza car, a really cool looking car, all black, all carbon, the combustion car, 4-wheel drive. Making that car driverless is really an achievement, so it's really cool, and we like to see them out here before the panoramic picture, which started at 6:30 I believe, so we still have a couple of hours, hour and a half before that happens, so let's see whether they will make it out here.
Yeah, of course. I will say we did see KIT out testing on the shortened autocross track yesterday and looked very quick. So I think we've got some good things to come from KIT. And I know Mickey was down in FS Italy, and he did see the Rome car win the driverless event.
Yeah, actually, that was quite impressive. It was. It was the only car actually driving on the dynamic events, but it looked really good, especially on the acceleration. And also having a driverless car, being a combustion car, and actually accelerating and shifting, that's really cool. And it's not something that you see every day, so that should be quite a good match to see. And to be honest, I think on this kit pad we will see two teams battling it out. The Zurich team and the Kit team looked really good on the test track just earlier today, and I'm actually just going to watch it and see who wins.
gleich abends Z wie die Skidpad rasieren?
Eben. Wenn ich es noch schaffe. 19 Minuten.
Bis?
Skidpad schließt, oder? 18 Uhr.
19 Uhr. Skidpad schließt um 18:30 Uhr. Aber bisher ist halt noch ein Team gefahren, was gab ein Did Not Finish. Ich weiß nicht, ob sich die FSG das leben lassen will, dass sie mal Skidpad-Teams fahren. Vielleicht sagen sie dann, okay, sie lassen es länger auf.
Wieso jubeln die dann wieder so?
Das ist auch nicht abends, oder? Nein, das sind Temperaturen. Okay. Nein, die halt
Na?
Welcome back to the driverless skid pad event. We've now got a second car to make an attempt at the run. This is car 433 from ETH Zurich. If memory serves me right, they won this event last year, so hopefully we can see a quick loop. As the team prepares, just a quick reminder, there's only about 45 minutes left in this skid pad session, and the group photo will follow immediately afterwards, so make sure your car is ready to join that.
Yeah, and this should be interesting to see, Austin, because we know from this team that they dominated the competition the last 2 years, in fact. So if anybody can do a good lap on the skid pad event, then it's them. We only had one failed attempt from the kit car. So if they manage to, well, at least complete the skid pad run and have it valid, then it should be okay. And they would score, obviously, the maximum amount of points. I'm not sure what the status is of the two other cars that passed scrutineering, which is Tallinn and Roma. But we would like to see at least some kind of battle out here on the skid pad.
Yeah, it's always good to have more than one car in a race. I will say that we spoke to the officials after Karlsruhe's run, and the car did actually stop itself. The remote emergency switch wasn't used, so hopefully they can recalibrate and have a more successful second and final run.
Yeah, and I said this is also one of the cars that we've seen out on the practice track, right? So it looked really impressive. It was really quick on the practice track. So actually, I'm pretty hopeful that they can manage at least one valid run on the skid pad, and we'll see what happens.
The team are just making some final adjustments on the steering wheel. You can see the green light on top of the roll hoop, which indicates the low voltage system is active.
Yeah, they're just waiting for the system to boot probably. They're looking at the screen at the moment to see whether an OK sign will appear or not. And they seem satisfied at the moment. And they're about to step back and have the car do its thing. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I think we're ready to go, Austin. So everybody is taking a step back, as are we. So let's see what happens with the Zurich car. It should be. We can't see the light from here, can we? Can you see the light from here?
Can see the light at the top of the roll hoop is still green, so that means low voltage is active, but not high voltage yet.
So what do the lights mean? Again, maybe we can repeat it for the audience here.
Okay, so the green light on top of the roll hoop now, as I just said, is the low voltage is active. When that turns red, it means high voltage is active. The green light has just gone off, and we now see the flashing red, which means we can now see the yellow light on the side of the car, which means it's in driverless mode now. And now it's flashing, which means it's about to start, along with a beep. Slowly enters the lap, and just a reminder, it's the second lap which will give the fastest time, typically. It's slowly building up speed around the first right-hand loop. So far, so good. It's managed to change the direction. Well, it's managed to change the direction, but is going a bit wild. It's keeping on course, I think. It's got 2 or 3 cones underneath it. It's very exciting. We'll see if it stops. And it's stopped. It's taken out quite a few cones, but
Actually, well, it did hit a couple of cones. I see at least 5 or 6 cones, and probably it's carrying a couple of them as well. So that time will be added to the overall time. But I think it stopped in the right spot, and it managed to finish 2 right-hand laps and 2 left-hand laps. So this might be a valid run.
yeah, it looks promising. I think we'll just need to confirm that it didn't leave the track completely at any point, because there were a few times where it was a bit close. But it looks like right now the officials are just counting the cones. Need to be extra vigilant for all the ones underneath the car. It's actually quite impressive because the blue cones are right in the middle of the track here, and it managed to miss them the second time around while not going too far out of bounds, if it went out of bounds at all. So normally when we see things go wrong, it's because one cone falls over and then the car gets confused trying to process what to do with that the next lap. But the algorithms that got programmed into this allowed the car to navigate the minefield.
Yeah, this must be the weirdest valid attempt I've ever seen, actually. So, well done from Zurich. Very impressive to see the car, missing the 2 blue cones right in the middle of the track and not leaving the track entirely. Because I think if you have all the 4 wheels outside the track, then it's an off course or a DNF probably. But I think it managed to stay inside, right?
I think so. I think it was a little bit close coming around the final lap, but I think it did stay on course. Looks like they've pulled 5 cones out from underneath the car, which is quite impressive, I think.
Yeah, that's probably maybe a record for the most cones carried by a driverless car. We sort of have an unofficial record for this. I think we saw that last year in the Austrian competition when one of the cars was carrying 8 cones. So this is pretty close, actually. Let me see if I can get a confirmation from one of the officials whether it is actually a valid run or not, and then we'll update you.
Yes, and I just got a confirmation from the official. It is a valid run, and they counted 10 cones. So a time of 10 times 0.2 seconds, which is 2 seconds, will be added to their time. However, they're the only ones with a valid run. So that means they're leading the board.
Yeah, they made the math for us very easy by getting 10 cones. Looks like the time before the penalties was 5.99 seconds on average, and they were very consistent between right and left, just about a tenth of a second between those times. We've now got 38 minutes left in the driverless skid pad event. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see both Zurich and Karlsruhe out again, as well as the two other teams which we still haven't seen on track yet.
Yeah, so all these teams still have another try left, right? So Kit can go again, Zurich can go again. We haven't seen Roma yet. And also we haven't seen Tallinn yet. We know that they passed scrutineering, so they should be able to run. But we actually don't know what their status is at the moment, whether they have some kind of technical difficulty or not. But the moment we have a bit more cars here, then we'll come back to you.
Stefan! Was soll das?
We now see the third car entering the driverless skid pad from University of Rome. This is the only combustion driverless car that's passed all aspects of scrutineering, so this will be exciting to watch.
Yeah, Austin, this would be really interesting because not only is this one of the coolest cars I've ever seen, Roma Sapienza car, it's really, everything is carbon fiber, everything is really nice. It's actually four-wheel drive as well, and it's driverless. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool. Everything's carbon. Back of the wing says all-wheel drunk, so hopefully that doesn't bode too poorly for them. I'm not sure if that's based on the experience they've had or what, but hopefully it maintains its course throughout this.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've seen this car drive a couple of weeks ago in FS Italy. It was really amazing to see how this car did the acceleration run back then, and how it shifted, and what kind of noise it made, and how the clutch is actuated. In my opinion, it's much harder to implement a driverless car on a combustion, driverless features on a combustion car than on electric. So, well done for them. Also, they passed scrutineering. I think they were added quite late to the starting list here. So, I think for a long time they weren't sure whether they would be able to attend or not. So, yeah, well, this should be interesting. And unlike the electric cars, we will actually hear this car starting up, because it will start the engine by itself as well, which is quite interesting as well.
And because it's a combustion car, it obviously doesn't have the low and high voltage system activation lights on top of the roll hoop, but it still has the automated driving lights on the side.
And there you go. The car has been started. And now the autonomous system will just take over. And we already have the autonomous lights on, so that means the yellow lights are on. And the moment it starts flashing, then it means that it's about to drive off. Yeah, and when we stand here, we're standing about 10-15 meters from the car, and we can hear the engine being revved by the autonomous system, right? They're probably trying to get it up to temperature, and now we see a blue solid line. So I think that means that the system is thinking that it completed the run somehow. So this is actually not really the case at the moment. I'm just looking at the team members to see what they're going to do. I think they're going to walk up and see what the system is saying.
Meanwhile, behind us, we can see the first of the cars joining for the panoramic picture. So if you've not done so already, maybe it's time to head back to your pit and bring your car over, especially if you want to be in one of the first few rows.
Yeah, in the meantime, I think the Roma car, the team members are going to give it another go. We still have some time left, about 20 minutes maybe, before we will do the panoramic picture. So they still have some time. I think they're struggling a little bit to keep it off the sloping side of the hill, because it's rolling forward. I think these systems have some kind of safety that allows them to apply the brake, not to roll over the start-finish line. So that should be activated as well.
And it would be interesting to find out if that was counted as a run or not, because technically they didn't cross the starting line or even enter the arena.
No, actually, I don't think it will be counted as a formal run, because we see this all the time with the other skid pad drivers, right? When they stall the engine just at the staging area. Usually that doesn't count as a run. It does count the moment you pass the start-finish line. So that hasn't happened. So I think they can try again, and I think they will try again. Austin, you're walking to the car. Tell us what you see over there.
You can see the team members switching some switches on the side of the car, looking at the messages on the dash. I think they're going to start the engine now, so I'm going to step back.
Yeah, you're probably wise to do so. Everybody would take a step back. I think this car will not drive backwards easily, but it's still safe to have some distance. Also, not to confuse the car. What kind of sensing systems do these cars have, Austin?
Oh, before we get there, it looks like it thinks it's finished its run. Well, hopefully the team can sort the issue out. Looking at the entry list, most of the teams use a combination of cameras and LiDAR as a sensing system. Radar is an option that has been used in the past, but according to the entry list anyways, I didn't see any teams that were using radar this year.
Yeah, and it seems that, it looks like they're giving up. Roma, the driver, is getting back in. It looks like they're going to push the car away, so no run for them. It looked like, but this is really from a distance. I'm not speculating here a little bit. It looked like the car was in driving mode, but then somehow thought it was finished already, so the light turned solid blue, which means that, well, I'm done, I'm finished, and mission accomplished. But that was obviously not the case.
Yeah, just speculating once again, but potentially it's getting the orange cones at the beginning of the run confused with the orange cones at the end of the run. And maybe its vision is so far ahead, the cones it's supposed to see when it finishes, it's seeing before it starts.
Yeah, and before we do too much of a speculation, let's remind everybody that making the software for these kind of systems is very, very complicated. We've seen a diagram in the event handbook which sort of explains what kind of systems you have in these driverless systems, and we were confused already. Now, we are easily confused people, for sure, but it's very complicated, and that's why you see only 3 or 4 cars even passing scrutineering, let alone participating in the dynamic event. So every team that actually gets a driving car in the driverless competition has done a tremendous job.
Yeah, of course, these cars all have processing units that are in thousands of gigaflops, which is just an insane amount, considering how tightly everything is packaged.
So, we have about 15 minutes left, Austin?
A little bit more than that, about 25, but
Please queue up for the panoramic picture. Please queue up for the panoramic picture.
sorry, we paused so that everybody could hear the announcement from the organization about the team picture, just asking you to line up, so we'll repeat that in case you didn't hear it. If the rest of your team have gone for the panoramic picture, potentially you could fill out the survey for us commentators. You can find the link on Instagram in the profile at the top, on Facebook and Twitter. If you find one of us wearing a green vest, we'll give you the QR code. Meanwhile, we can see a car coming back.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a Tallinn car. Actually the 4th driverless car that finished scrutineering today or yesterday even, and they will have a last-minute attempt. I'm not sure why they waited this long to make an attempt, because it's going to be close in the end. But they're here, and we'll see what kind of lap they can do. All they have to do is drive one valid lap without hitting 10 cones, even 9 cones will probably give you a good time. So I'm actually quite curious what happens now.
Mickey, it looks like we have a queue. See 3 cars being wheeled out at once. Karlsruhe is the second car in the queue. I can't quite make out who the third car is from here. But potentially we've had another car pass through all of scrutineering since this event began. Which is completely feasible because it's been over 2.5 hours. So we'll see when they get over here.
Yeah, so the car in front of us is the car from Tallinn, and I'm just going to find out which car is just behind the kit car at the moment. Let me see if I can find the information. And Austin, I found the information. It's the Hamburg car, the TU Hamburg, car number 478, which is the car behind the kit car. So another car passed the scrutineering. So that means we have 5 cars that have passed all the scrutineering challenges. So we might actually have a competition on our hands.
This is getting quite exciting. It was a slow build-up, but you know it's all coming to a head at the very end.
Yeah, so we might be strapped for time actually, because we have 3 cars waiting and only like 15 minutes left in the skid pad event. And we know for a fact that they will not extend the time because we have a lot of cars waiting for the panoramic picture, which is already quite a challenge by itself. So there will not be any time extensions. And in all fairness, they've had quite some time to come to the skid pad event, and whatever challenges you have to face them within the right amount of time. So we're going to take a step back and see what Tallinn does.
The yellow light is on the side of the car, indicating that it's in autonomous mode. Once that starts flashing, we can prepare for it to move. You've heard the beep and the light is flashing. Let's move forward. It's across the starting line. It's taken a wide entrance into the first turn, but he's back on track.
Yeah, he just managed to miss the cone at the exit, so that's already one of the hurdles that these cars face. Now we'll have to see whether it can manage the second. Yeah, well done, missed that cone again. Slowly but steadily, we're coming to at least one of the right-hand turns. You can see the car making slight adjustments. Let's see, yeah, it goes actually to the left-hand turn at the moment. Oh, it picks up 1, 2, 3 cones, but manages to continue. And now we go into the lapped time, which is the 4th and final one. And it's carrying a cone as well, as far as I can see. Yeah, definitely. But so far, so good. It is a bit slower than we've seen so far, but going into the stop area, it manages to stop. Yeah, solid blue line. Well done, Tallinn. We have a competition on our hands.
One of their team members looks just a little happy.
Well, if that's a little happy, I'm curious what ecstatic is with this team.
Yeah, that was a very good and consistent run. As you said, he hit a few cones along the way. I'm trying to see where the cone was that's now currently under the car, because it's in the same area where he took out the other 2.
Yeah, I think it might be still carrying one of the cones as well, but as far as I can count, it was 4 or 5 cones, which is actually better than the previous car. Let's see what kind of time. Do you see the times from here?
I'll have a walk over. We don't have the best angle. Try to avoid Karlsruhe's car as they get it into position. It's like a time of 14.21 plus the cone penalties. One of the cones, it looks like, was struck and is slightly out of the box, but a corner of the cone is still in the box. Mickey, do you want to explain what happens if you hit the cone and it stays in the box or lands back in the box?
Yeah, normally as long as one of the, a part of the cone is touching the box, which is drawn around it, then it doesn't count as a penalty. Usually that means that this cone in particular will not be counted as a penalty, but I did count at least 4 cones that were hit and were taken out of the box. So they will have at least 0.8 of a second added to their time. But I think in total the Zurich time is a bit faster still. So even with the penalties, because we know that Zurich had 10 cones at least, and so they had 2 seconds added to their time. But I think they're in the lead at the moment.
Well, Karlsruhe is looking like it's active, so we'll step back again. They navigated the skid pad bit of the track successfully last time, but they unfortunately didn't stop before they needed to. So hopefully they've sorted that out and we can see a clean run here.
Yeah, they did everything right last time around. They didn't stop, which should be the easier part of the skid pad. But hey, we're speculating here, and we all know how difficult this is. So let's just hope they can get a clean run in at the moment.
Just heard the beep and it's off. Certainly looking very quick on the first loop.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, to be honest. And so far, and let's not jinx it with our commentary curse, but so far it looks really good. It manages to go into the second turn. It takes out 1 cone, but so far that's not really a big issue. It manages to avoid it the second time around. So yeah, well done. Okay, coming up to the finish. Yeah, it crosses the finish line. Will it stop in time? Yes, it did. Wow, what a cool run from Kit. Well done. Only 1 cone I could see, so that's an excellent time as well.
Yeah, before penalties, they've done a 6.67, which, based on the simple maths, I think should put them quicker than the ETH Zurich time once their penalties are added.
Yes, that was very impressive. These cars that come after them will have a massive job on their hands to better that time, because this was really quick.
And we've got another one. We've had quite a few in a row. We've got TU Hamburg now. This will be their first attempt. As Mickey mentioned, they were very late getting through the scrutineering queue, so we didn't expect to see them, but it's a nice surprise.
Yes, and also we have the Zurich car lining up as well for another run, just behind them, here in the staging area. So we have a proper battle going on, which is what we've been waiting for all afternoon, to be honest. So this looks really good.
Team are just lining the car up properly for the start. I think the slight slope right by the entry to the skid pad is causing perhaps some issues the teams weren't expecting. Just powering up the car now.
Yeah, but I think the car is actively applying the brakes at the moment to keep the car from rolling forward. So that should be okay. And let's see whether you can see the lights from there, can't you?
Yeah, there's no light on yet on the side, no yellow light. It's the low voltage system is active. Sounds like there's some sort of fan or pump that was going. Now applying the key for the high voltage. High voltage is now on. And the yellow light for the autonomous mode is now on. It's solid at the moment. We'll hear a beep and hopefully see it flashing quite shortly.
Yeah, and there's also a yellow light at the back side of the car, so we can see that as well, and it's going. It's a bit slow and hesitant, but maybe that's just the first lap. And I think if you just finish skid pad, you will get some points as well. So steady wins the race at the moment.
It's staying pretty central in the track, and it's just stopped and been shut off with the RES switch, the emergency stop switch.
Yeah, so the blue light is flashing, and we can hear the beep as well. So that means that some kind of emergency system has been activated, which stopped the car. And this is a feature that all the cars have at the moment. So not sure what happened there, because it was dead straight in the middle of the track. But maybe it got confused and just decided to stop. We don't know for sure.
Once again, a very good accomplishment to even get the car to move and start to get around the corner. It's quite complicated to sort out all the cones and figure out which way to go. We'll see if they want to come back and try again, or if they're finished for the day. Is that another new car I see, Mickey?
Yeah, we keep getting surprised here with the driverless car showing up. We haven't seen this yet so far, but that would mean would be the 6th car finishing all the scrutineering challenges. And they will have an attempt for sure, because we still have about 10 minutes left in the skid pad event.
The drivers sitting in the cars lining up for the panoramic photo sure have like a bird's eye view of this. Guess it was worth getting here early for them.
Not sure whether the drivers are actually really happy with these driverless cars, because in the future they might be out of a job.
That's a good point, Mickey. Looks like Hamburg is potentially on their way to wheeling the car back around. They certainly turned right instead of left out of the arena.
Yeah, and the next car that we have here in the staging area is the Augsburg car. So it's good to see them here as well. And let's see whether they can better the time of Kit, which was really impressive. It will be really hard, but if there's one team that can do it, it's the car just about to attempt the skid pad, which is the Zurich car, defending champions. So that's about honor as well.
We'll see if they can maybe tune it down just a little bit so they're just fast enough to beat KIT. Now that KIT have used up all their runs, there's all sorts of strategy that can happen. We can see the yellow autonomous mode light is now solidly on. The car is beeped and is now flashing and is now off.
Well, it managed to navigate at least the first part of the right-hand turn. Going faster and faster, almost going out of the skid pad, but managing to stay on track. And then going into the second lap, it takes out a huge amount of cones at the moment, and I think it was stopped. Maybe the RES guy put a stop to it. Well done, good attempt from Zurich. The car was a bit wild out there, and managed to collect a lot of cones as well this time around. So that's it for them, I think. This was their second and final run.
Yeah, that was their second run. I can count quite a few cones, and interestingly on both runs it's been on the left-hand loop they've had issues.
And now we have an interesting situation, because we were given very strict instructions not to cross the timing beacon. And I think that's the issue that they have now. They're just waiting for timekeeping guys to say whether they're allowed to actually cross the timing beacon with the car or not, because it seems to have that the car has stopped exactly in the middle of the start-finish line. So this timing system is quite sensitive. You have to be, because you have to be very accurate with these times. So I think the timing guys now, they gave the okay to the team, so they can take away the car. Probably they will need a couple of minutes to reset the timing equipment, but we will sure have another try from Augsburg.
Yeah, I can see the big orange timing cones are all the way across the track. Not sure if that's going to cause any other issues for the timing guys, but hopefully not. We've only got a few more minutes in the event. We've got a car that hasn't run yet, so hopefully they'll get a chance to go.
Yeah, there's some conversation going on with the red shirts there and the green shirts as well. I think the main thing is to push the car away. get the driver in, push the car away, and then the timekeeping guys can reset the system and give the all clear sign, so we can have the run from Augsburg, and behind them we have still 2 cars waiting as well. We have the TU Hamburg and the Tallinn car also waiting to do their second run. So still some minutes left, and I think they have to rebuild the skid pad as well. Sharp notice there, Austin.
That was very much a case of the car saying nom 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 cones.
Yeah, so which of the cars is we can name actually Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah, I guess keeping up tradition of ETH Zurich, who's been given that nickname in the past, so keeping up the tradition.
Yeah, it's getting busy here as well, because we also have the Roma car being pushed to the staging area. So we might have a very busy and exciting last couple of minutes of the skid pad event, which is, well, maybe a little bit frustrating for the organizers here, because we have a lot of cars waiting also for the panoramic picture, which is by itself quite a challenge with all the cars and all the teams. So it will be quite exciting these last couple of minutes.
Yeah, we're having a nice picnic before all these cars showed up.
Yeah, I guess that's we call that just-in-time management, but I'm not sure whether the organizers are really happy with that attitude.
Gonna go have a look and see what's going on with this car before they activate it. Looks like the driver's getting in and they potentially are wheeling it backwards. Yeah, it looks like they're pulling it away from the line.
Yeah, this is what you get if you are really late at the staging area, because you just don't get a lot of time from the white shirts at the moment to fiddle with your car and have a reset or whatever. So that means that you get maybe 1 minute or 1.5 to start your car, and if you can't, then the next one is up, because time is running out at the moment, and TU Hamburg will come up for another try.
Gonna head over to the car now from Hamburg, see what's going on this time, see if they can get to go all the way around. Oh, it's just my luck. I walk up to the car and it's been activated, so now retracing my steps backwards.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's a trigger, Austin. You should have done that with the other cars as well, maybe. Not sure whether you have some kind of karma. Yeah, there we go. It's driving off. I remember the car stopping quite early in the previous run. And it's still going at the moment, which is good. Slow and steady, but so far clean. Keeping quite close to the cones, but not hitting anything so far as I can see.
It looks to be speeding up just a little bit as it starts its second lap.
Well, that could be a strategy. So the car learns the track more or less, and then maybe the second time around it can go a little bit faster, which is quite a good strategy if you ask me. And now for the second turn on the left-hand side, first lap again quite slow and steady, but again maybe just learning the track, and now it's speeding up. Wow, that's a big difference. And it's going, oh, it's almost out, at least one cone. Sliding, another cone. Did it stop? Yeah, actually it stopped. Wow, what an amazing second lap that was. It was actually drifting, but still it kept on the track, and the solid blue line means that it actually finished the skid pad event. So well done from TU Hamburg.
And I think even though it hit quite a few cones on that last lap, it was still so much quicker that it was probably worth it to make that gamble. Got an average time of 8.79 seconds. And their left-hand loop was comparable to Carl's. It was actually 0.03 of a second quicker.
Wow, that's really impressive.
Of course, there's a few cones to add on to that, but I still think it's quicker with those cones than it would have been otherwise.
How did the car manage to stay on track? It drifted with the rear wheels almost outside the skid pad area, which was very impressive to see from here. So the second lap was really quick. It was very, very impressive to see. How the car managed to catch at the backside, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was pointed right at us. I was about ready to jump behind you, Mickey.
Yeah, I was almost running away, but the car managed to stay out on track, so well done, good job.
Here we've got Talon now lining up for a second run. Before the lap from Hamburg, I thought Talon may set a very slow lap time so as to use up the remaining minute and a half or so that they have, but they might need to turn it up a little bit so they can regain their third place that they held for so long. Talon has now had the autonomous mode activated. You can see the solid yellow light on the side of the roll hoop. The autonomous mode is now fully active as the car takes off. Not a great start. It takes off a few cones. It looks like it's, yeah, just about stayed on track, I think. Oh, another one for good measure. And he's got one trapped between his front right wheel and the side pod, another one between the left-hand wheel and side pod.
Well, it's still going, but I think it's been outside the track as well, and I think we have a new contender for the Conan the Barbarian prize.
A new contender.
Yeah, exactly, contender. Oh no, he didn't. Actually, it's carrying like 5 cones at the moment. Yeah, and it's sort of, yeah, well, it finished don't ask me how, but it actually finished the skip pad event. I'm not sure whether it will be a valid one because it did leave the track, but I'm not sure it was with 4 wheels or not. So it actually was quite a spectacular ride.
Yeah, I thought it left the track a few times, but it did manage to clip the cones that it was driving past, so it'll be interesting to see how that's interpreted.
Yeah, actually it was a good job from the car actually avoiding the cones that it hit the first time around. So, well, it was amazing to see actually. I'm not sure, there's a lot of discussion going on now with the white shirts. They will have to have a ruling whether that run was a valid one or not. But it was certainly spectacular. And I think time's up. I see Yogi walking to the Roma car. I think the time has just run out for them to do another round. But I'm not sure. I think Yogi is taking a last look whether we have maybe 1 more minute left or not. Still not decided yet, to be honest.
And despite all those cones, this may actually be an improvement for Talon's time. They're nearly 5 seconds quicker than they were on their first run.
Yeah, so I just have confirmation from Yogi. The skip pad event has finished. So we're right on time. We've had a lot of time for all the teams to do the runs. They were here late a little bit. But I think now the track is being cleared for the panoramic picture, so all the cones will be taken out. It's a bit sad for the Roma and the Augsburg cars. They could have done another run, but simply no more time left. So that's it for them. Also, that's it for the driverless KitPad event for today. And we'll see you tomorrow. Austin, maybe you can do a rundown of the times set today.
Okay, I was going to help with the cones, but I can give a rundown instead. And these are purely before any cone penalties are applied. ETH Zurich was the first successful run, and ultimately the quickest run without cones, 5.99 average time. Second quickest without cones was KIT, 6.67. Third quickest without cones was Hamburg with 8.79. Fourth quickest was Tallinn with 9.63. I think once the cones are considered, that Karlsruhe's time will be quicker than Zurich's. And I think that Hamburg's quickest time is certainly faster than Tallinn's quickest time. So it's a very preliminary and tentative and all based on maths in my head result. But I think that's what it is.
Yeah, but looking at the result, I think the defending champions Zurich, they have a battle on their hands. It's not going to be that easy this year. But that's it for today. That's it for us for today at least. And we'll be back tomorrow with some more driverless action. But also we will have the first dynamic events for the combustion electric cars. So that's it for us. Thank you for listening. And we'll be back tomorrow.
Yes, fill out the commentator survey if you haven't already. It keeps us from telling too many bad jokes. But otherwise, have a good evening. Good luck getting your cars sorted, and we'll see you tomorrow.